Welcome to Rockingham for rounds 9, 10 and 11 of the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. Adam Southgate heads the main championship in the Boxsters, but it's in the 924s where the championship battle is really heating up. Second in championship, Gavin Johnson, you're on pole position today for the first race. It's going to be quite a tough battle out there.
Yeah, I think so. Hugh's really improved. He did really well at Cadwell Park. He got his first win, so I'm sure he's confident. But yeah, so am I. I'm on pole by 2 seconds. Lap record holder here. I won here last year, so I'm confident. Yeah, looking forward to the race.
As you say, pace is strong. It's lap record holding pace. It's got to be yours for the taking.
It's racing, isn't it? Anything can happen. I know that better than anyone. I had a throttle cable at Cadwell when I was 13 seconds down the road. So, no, we'll take it as it comes. You know, I'll try and get a good start, get a couple of laps under my belt and see where I end up. But, yeah, confident.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there, Gavin. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you.
It's now over to our commentary team to take you through the grid for race 1.
Thanks, Lloyd. This is going to be an interesting one. Adam Southgate on the front row of the grid from Kevin Molyneux, with Jesse Chamberlain and Gary Goodwin on row 2. Gary Lawrence and Nick Hull in the top 6 from Kevin Nudford and Philip Churchill. Rounding out the top 10 is Andrew Baker and Jamie Callender making his first start in a Boxster. Bowden's on his own in the production Boxsters, with Gavin Johnson, Hugh Pert and Richard Matthews tied in behind. Carl Rosson is joining in from race 2, and James Coleman blew his engine in testing yesterday and doesn't even take up the start. More on that later, but Kevin Molyneux's got a flyer off the line here at Rockingham as he charges into the lead in front of Adam Southgate. Looks as though Jesse Chamberlain's going to get Gary Lawrence to his left side through the first corner as they sweep through the banking. No problem at all. Nick Hull trying to get on the inside there to move up into the top 5 as Adam Southgate goes the long way round Kevin Molyneux to move up shortly if he cuts across at Dean Eben into the lead. I think he's overshot. He's going to go off the circuit and Gary Lawrence is going to take second place. So a good start then from Kevin Molyneux, but Adam Southgate off the road. Now he's going to try and find his way back in his second position. There he goes. So Gary Lawrence has to slot back into third position. There's Kevin Ludford chasing after the 46 of Gary Goodwin. Now, Jesse Chamberlain is trying to get into third position, making the move on Gary Lawrence. Hasn't been able to get that done yet. Nick Hull, though, has been able to put his Union flag Boxster in 5th position off the start, so not a bad getaway as Gary Lawrence protects the inside line from Jesse Chamberlain as they come on to the straight up towards Gracelands once again. Here at Rockingham, a great return for the championship. Always enjoy coming to Rockingham. But out in front it is Dolly Molly who leads the way after a spectacular getaway. Adam Southgate is not going to be too long in trying to make the attempt to go through. He sells him the dummy there, goes right round the outside. He has a try, but Kevin Molyneux is going to hold on to it on that inside line. Jesse Chamberlain tries the same trick on Gary Lawrence, and there's not a lot of room to manoeuvre. But now Southgate is going to be side by side with Kevin Molyneux. He decides, do you know what, I'm going to slot in behind Adam Southgate and hold on to second position for the time being. So finally Adam Southgate through into the lead again. And, well, this is going to be a very difficult day at the office for the others because, of course, Adam Southgate is now in a position to disappear and check out in front, especially now that James Coleman, the 00, who is his closest championship opposition, blew his engine yesterday in the testing sessions. And obviously, when the head gasket blows, that is pretty much a dead engine. So now, unfortunately, Coleman is sat on the sidelines as a spectator watching this race unfold. Dolly Molly, Kevin Molyneux himself is still there in second place. Then it's Gary Lawrence. Fourth position is the 44 of Jesse Chamberlain, still having an amazing first season in the Toyo Tires Porsche Boxster Championship as he holds on to that third position for the time being. Fourth position, sorry. In there behind Lawrence. They go through Yentwood, up the steep climb, and up in towards Chapman Curve. It's steeper than people give that credit for. I've walked this circuit several times and you don't really appreciate the undulation changes and the peaks and troughs around this particular part of the circuit as well. Piff path up to the Rockingham Curve. Always very difficult to gauge that from what the television pictures give you, but it is a bit harder to walk around this circuit than a lot of people believe. They think it's just a flat, straight circuit. It's not quite as easy as that. As up through Gracelands they come once again. The 93, Gary Lawrence in there. battling away with the 44 still of Jesse Chamberlain. A cracking start this from Gary Lawrence, from 5th on the grid, has got himself up into 3rd place with a stellar launch off the line. Once again, he has been looking very strong in the 2018 season, and Gary Lawrence living up to that expectation still. 6th position just behind this lot is Philip Churchill. Then it's Kevin Ludford as he tries to get further out in front of the 46 of Gary Goodwin, who's having a really difficult first race of the weekend, has to be said, from what was initially 4th on the grid. Look at how close Chamberlain is able to get to Gary Lawrence, though, as they come off the final turn and onto the home stretch once again. This is going to be very interesting as the 93 Gary Lawrence is going to hold on to this advantage, already being chased by Jesse Chamberlain, but Nick Hull looks very hungry for it here, the number 4. He's got a new front bumper, you can tell, to the car, because it's a completely different colour to the rest of the machine. Normally that would be a blue bumper. Here comes Jesse Chamberlain trying to go round the outside at Dean Hairpin, and both of them have overshot! Dear oh dear, that's the kitty litter. They both re-emerge, but Nick Hull manages to snatch 3rd position off both of them. So they were trying to play chicken on the brake pedal. Both of them got it wrong. So Gary Lawrence gets there in front of Jesse Chamberlain still, and the 46 of Gary Goodwin now has a chance to close up on them. Here's the 924 battle. Hugh Pert is having the season of his life right now, isn't he? And still Gavin Johnson, that record holder, as we've said, is pushing hard to try and get through, and has not quite been able to do so yet. Back to the battle for 4th position. A lap ago this was for 3rd. Nick Hull has got past them both, of course, after they overshot at Dean Hairpin. Gary Lawrence still there in front of the 44 of Jesse Chamberlain, and Gary Goodwin in the 46 coming for good company as they get down towards Yentwood once again. Down towards Gracelands once again. They go through the left-hander. Very easy to run wide off the circuit at this point. Down the short stretch towards Tarzan, and Gavin Johnson looks as though he's going to time the move into the left-hander past Hugh Pert. Hugh Pert shutting the door beautifully there. This is going to be a long race battle between these two, and that is Gary Lawrence again shutting the door on Jesse Chamberlain in their bid for 4th position. Gary Goodwin is still there in P6, trying to get his move up into the top 5. But Jesse Chamberlain is keeping the car very nicely planted at the moment. Oh, he's going to go for a late lunge on Lawrence. Nicely shut the door there, Gary. Beautifully done. So Jesse Chamberlain giving Gary Lawrence all sorts of pressure. That was a late chance from Jesse Chamberlain. Wasn't quite able to take good advantage of it in the end, so had to yield. But that just shows you how tough the battle is in this championship. So Gary Lawrence in the 93 in 4th place, but it's a good run this time from Jesse Chamberlain. He's going to get alongside before Lawrence even realises he's got the run into the braking zone for Dean. Get it stopped this time, gentlemen. They both do so, but into 4th position has gone Jesse Chamberlain, so he's back where he started. Oh, big puff of smoke from Nick Hull up the road. What was that? That was going up through the gears on the run to Yentwood. So a big puff of smoke from Nick Hull. I hope that's not a terminal problem, because he certainly wasn't on the brakes at that point. But something clearly coughed and spluttered in the number 4 machine. It's the 44 machine we're watching there very briefly, Jesse Chamberlain. Now we're back with the leading battle again for the 924s as Hugh Pert takes the wider line through Dean Hairpin. Gavin Johnson still putting him under pressure. This battle looks like it's going to go all the way to the finish line between these two. Gavin Johnson tries to sell him the dummy, goes one way, goes the other, but Hugh Pert is in the middle of the circuit, so he's not going to concede a position anytime soon, although he did make a mistake out of Yentwood, and this could be Gavin Johnson's chance to steal the class lead. Into Chapman Curve, beautifully done from Gavin Johnson. That was neat and tidy as you like, and into the lead as they go through Piff Paff, left and right, and that is a perfect bit of driving from Gavin Johnson, who now has a great opportunity to just tuck out into the next corner and start to jog away from Hugh Pert, who's having his best season in the Porsche 924 class for certain. Gavin Johnson is only in his 2nd, don't forget he was a rookie last year, and his teammate Pip Hammond was the champion. Gavin Johnson is trying to return the favour and obviously continue the team's great prowess from last year to keep it going in 2018. They just need to keep doing what they're doing, because at the moment Gavin Johnson's got good solid consistency as a driver. Doesn't always work out reliability wise, but you can't have everything. Now here comes the battle further back. This is Kevin Ludford and Philip Churchill side by side, and Jamie Callender, who during qualifying lost the roof and the windscreen of the car. You can see that he's racing, I think, under scrutiny from the stewards. They may well decide that that car is not actually legal to be classified in the results, as Churchill dives up the inside of Kevin Ludford. Calendar's going to go round the outside of Dean Hairpin, so he loses a place to one on the inside and one on the outside. Jamie Callender in his first ever race in the Porsche Boxster class, having been a 924 driver before that. He's getting on with it, isn't he? Up the inside of Churchill. Misses a gear on the way out of the turn though, and that's enough to let both Churchill and Ludford back on the inside. But Callender only lets one of them go, does not let Kevin Ludford overtake him. So Jamie Callender, having moved himself up into the Porsche Boxster class this weekend, has obviously got an awful lot of work to do, but he's taking to this car very quickly. So Jamie Callender has obviously decided 924s were fun, and they were a lot of fun, but the Boxster is faster, and I think I can win races overall now. So he is going to try and do that over the course of the season, as he now dives for the inside of Greystands, up the inside of Philip Churchill. They're going to run side by side on the stretch to Tarzan, but Churchill holds the car firmly across the apex of the racing line, and he's not going to get that place back. There's Gavin Johnson, leader of the 924s, in front of Hugh Pert and the 47 Richard Matthews, who is a little way back from these guys. And still, this three-car battle continues. The car in the background, by the way, is Andy Baker, who has only just gone from being a production Boxster driver to a full-fat race-spec Boxster racer, as it were. And obviously Andy Baker, in his new element as a Boxster racer, still getting the car up to speed, still enjoying the new machinery he gets to play with. It's certainly more advanced than the production spec Boxster, as Jamie Callender is in the draft of Philip Churchill through that first corner. No major problems. He just needs to keep the car rolling nicely through that long banked left-hander, and up towards the wall he goes, just trying to keep the car nice and tidy through. This is all going fine and dandy for these two as they battle away over position. But Philip Churchill still hangs in there through Dean Hairpin in front of Jamie Callender and Kevin Ludford. Great racing for 7th position this is between these three drivers. They've got the top 6 quite a long way in front of them now, but one of the great elements of this championship and this category in particular is that it doesn't matter where in the race you are probably going to end up battling and dicing with somebody, and that's what makes this such a great battle. Now, if Jamie Callender can do as well as that in a Boxster... Oh, Hugh Pert locks up with the Dean Hairpin. He manages to get rid of that mistake there. I was going to say that if Jamie Callender can do such a good job in the race spec Boxster, I'd love to know how I'd go in one, because in the end of season karting thing last year, I might have overtaken Jamie a couple of times, but he's going to make the move on Philip Churchill and gets through into 7th position. So clearly he was hearing me and has told me to shut up in the best way possible, moving up to 7th place. Yeah, Jake, but you can't do this, can you? Philip Churchill is going to have to try and fight back with Kevin Ludford hot on his tail, as Jamie Callender is already looking to scarper and go away from them. Here's the battle further up the order. This is Gary Lawrence trying to get one over on Jesse Chamberlain, who is now in 4th position. Nick Hull still 3rd. Chamberlain's got a good draft out of the banking, and there's not going to be a lot Nick Hull can do to retaliate. He's just got to let Jesse Chamberlain go in the flow of acceleration. He's going to dive back for the inside in the hope that Chamberlain overshoots. He doesn't, but the back end comes out. Oh, well held, Jesse. Goodness me, that was tight. And he manages to keep the back end of the car from sliding round, and Gary Lawrence gets the inside line for Nick Hull. So before they both overshot at Dean Hairpin, this was pretty much the order of proceedings, and now they are back where they started in the battle for 3rd position, the only difference being now that Nick Hull is right in there with them, battling over 5th position. So it looks like a podium has gone for Nick Hull for the moment, but he just needs to stay hungry and keep on it. And let's not forget that he's going to have an interesting race weekend, such as everybody else's, because the 3rd race this weekend is a new experiment for the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. It is a mandatory pit stop race. We're going to talk about that in a little more detail a little bit later on, but that is just about the most exciting idea in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship for quite a long time, certainly since this new spec of bodywork on the front and rear end of the car was introduced at the beginning of last year. I'm very excited to see how this pit stop race is going to play out. And obviously with mandatory pit stops, it's done in a very similar style in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship to the old British touring car days of mandatory pit stops in the feature race back in the late 1990s, when Renault and Volvo and Audi and Ford were all battling away with each other. So off the turn they come, and this is going to be a very interesting last half of the race, as still Nick Hull is pressuring Gary Lawrence to hope that he makes a mistake. But these two are old hands at this game. They know each other's tricks very well indeed. And Jesse Chamberlain has come into the championship as a new racer in the class, and he's already battling for top 3 spots, although he's still finding the car pretty tough to drive, as you saw there. Just overshot a little bit on the run to Dean Hairpin. A very different type of race car to what he is used to, Jesse Chamberlain, but he's taken to them very quickly. Gary Lawrence with the Dayglow orange wheel rims as he makes his way up towards the right-hander at Chapman, still holding on to the advantage in front of Nick Hull. I have to say, 46, Gary Goodwin there in 6th position is a bit closer to these three than they would feel comfortable with if they could spot him there, and they probably will do if they get a long enough look in their rearview mirror. Nick Hull certainly will know that Gary Goodwin is there. Here is Adam Southgate, though. It's been an absolutely dominant performance from him out in front. He's not really had much pressure since that first lap when he got into the lead from Kevin Molyneux, who's having a very similar, quiet race in 2nd position. Both these guys are dominating, but Adam Southgate had a very difficult weekend at Rockingham last year, which had all sorts of mechanical problems creeping in and ruined his races because he had braking issues last year. They seem to be on top of it in 2018. But 3 beautiful results for Adam Southgate last year were taken away from him due to mechanical gremlins. This year, he is absolutely adamant that that's not going to happen. And the only man that's taken a victory off him so far this year, James Coleman, is sat on the sidelines wondering what might have been after that engine blow in testing. And for Adam Southgate, it looks like he's not going to put a wheel wrong here today, certainly in the first race. It's going absolutely beautifully. Well, I guess the only thing that you could potentially call an error in this entire race was when he overshot at Dean Hairpin trying to go around the outside of Dolly Molly, and that's pretty much, I think, the only wheel he's put wrong all season, actually. He's been absolutely fantastic since the start of the year, Adam Southgate, and he is making Ed Hayes' dominant run to the championship look pretty average by comparison. Adam Southgate in a very good mode, a very good form. The car is obviously perfect at the moment, and he's got so much more confidence with victory after victory after victory in the 2018 season. And here at Rockingham, he's looking to pick up at least one more, which would continue his winning trend from the start of the season, having raced now at all of the racetracks we've gone to on the calendar. Alton Park at the start of the year, Knock Hill alongside TCR, and then of course we had Cadwell Park last time out, and here at Rockingham. And so far, if he stays where he is, Adam Southgate will have won at least one race on every single racetrack this year in the championship, which I think at the same point in 2017, Ed Hayes, the eventual champion, had also done. So the Avis Consulting car leading quite comfortably at the front of the field at the moment. And by my mathematics, I'd say we have just 3 laps to go, looking at the time we've got left. So Adam Southgate is just on cruise control mode at the moment as he goes out of Yentwood, back on the power and up towards Chapman. Now, Jamie Callender is still embroiled in this battle for 7th position with Philip Churchill. Churchill has got back through. So Philip Churchill into 7th place now. Jamie Callender is 8th, and 9th position sat just behind them is the man waiting for an opportune moment to pounce on them both, Kevin Ludford in the 25, and then a little way back from him is Andy Baker, with Lee Bowden still in there in the mix in the production Boxster, the sole production Boxster, and can't be comfortable for Jamie Callender. Why is he running around without a roof and windscreens? Well, it's very simple. When he went out for a testing run, and he's slowing down. He's slowing down. Kevin Ludford's going through. So Kevin Ludford has gone through past Jamie Callender. Now, has Callender got a problem? As you can see, all the other cars have got a roof and windscreens. Whoever it was whose job it is to bolt the windscreen with the clips to the rest of the frame of the car had obviously forgotten to do the bolts up, because when he went out for qualifying, flat on the throttle, it blew off in front of him, taking the windscreens and the roof with it. So that is the reason why Jamie Callender is in a car with a little bit worse for wear at the moment. But the number 90, Philip Churchill, is there in front of him at the moment. Now, this is the battle for 3rd position. I think that's Gary Lawrence past Nick Hull. We didn't see where he did that, but Gary Lawrence has got through into 3rd position on Nick Hull regardless. And so now that is the final step of the podium in race 1, looking likely to go the way of the 93 of Gary Lawrence. There is Kevin Molyneux having a great run there in 3rd position. 2nd position. This is his best ever result if he stays where he is. And knowing Kevin Molyneux the way I do, he's going to be absolutely elated with 2nd position. The team have worked so hard to get him out there in a car that he feels comfortable with. He really likes this Rockingham circuit. He's got a beaming smile on his face as he's had pretty much all weekend. And, that is Jesse Chamberlain in 3rd behind him. So Chamberlain did manage to get away from those two. Lawrence and Hull battling away for 4th position. I had completely forgotten about Jesse Chamberlain. He's having a fairly quiet race, trying to close up on this guy, Kevin Molyneux. But Dolly Molly in second place, doing an absolutely fantastic job. And by the way, Kevin, thanks for the T-shirt. I'm wearing it as I commentate on this spectacular race. More on that story later. Out of the left-hander and down and over the crest, up towards the left-hander for Gracelands. And Kevin Molyneux just taking it nice and easy. Doesn't have to push too hard here, as he just keeps the car rolling through. He's got a massive gap to make up to Adam Southgate, but with time running out, that is not his prime focus at the moment. His attention is on getting to the checkered flag in good fashion, as Adam Southgate is about to go onto the last lap of this first race of the weekend from Rockingham. It started pretty frenetically. It's got pretty quiet since then, but hey, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. And this is a good start to the weekend for our race leader Adam Southgate, who is coming up to lap Gavin Johnson as he goes into his final lap around the Rockingham circuit. He's going to dive past. Gavin Johnson's not going to put up any resistance at all. What would be the point? He lets Adam Southgate go, and our two class leaders are on the same bit of racetrack together as Gavin Johnson overshoots a little bit at Dean Hairpin, but he's got enough space over Hugh Pert to be fairly comfortable. So it looks good for Gavin Johnson to pick up another victory in the 924 class, and for Adam Southgate, he will continue his winning streak of all but one races won this year in the 2018 Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. It's been a really commanding performance, and there is Jamie Callender in front of Adam Southgate, who I get the feeling is looking very likely to be lapped before we get to the end of this lap. But Adam Southgate, this is a 2018 season where he is basically just letting every race unfold in front of him. He's controlling the car perfectly. There's no major issues or difficulties that we can foresee with this particular car in 2018. Whatever niggling little technical difficulties they had that robbed a massive amount of points from Adam Southgate through the season seem to have been tackled very quickly. And there goes Southgate lapping Jamie Callender at Tarzan. So this is going to be a very pleasant end to the first race for Adam Southgate, who's going to win the race at a canter. Look back and you can see Gavin Johnson, but it's going to take quite a while to look back for Kevin Molyneux in second place. Not that either he or Adam is going to care about that in the slightest. Adam Southgate, out of the final turn here at Rockingham, is victorious in every single circuit we've been to now. He won at Alton, he won at Knockhill, he won at Cadwell, and now he's won at Rockingham. Great result there for Adam Southgate. Jamie Callender crosses the line behind him, although I would not at all be surprised if the stewards take a dim view of him racing without a roof or windscreens, as Gavin Johnson takes the 924 victory. And look at Kevin Molyneux side by side with the man in second place in the 924 class, Hugh Pert, and absolutely elated. Jesse Chamberlain in third from Lawrence, Hull and Goodwin, with Ludford, Churchill and Baker the only other finishers, as Callender is indeed excluded, with Gavin Johnson in front of Hugh Pert and Richard Matthews in the 924 class. A cracking start to the weekend here at Rockingham.
Adam, a tough race at it, especially that opening lap. It looked like you got bogged down a little bit from the start.
Yeah, I didn't have the best start, to be honest with you, and Kev had a flyer. I didn't react to the light going out, I reacted to Kev moving, which isn't usually the best. But luckily managed to get back past him and then pulled a gap. I think Kev had a fantastic race as well to bring home second place, so thrilled for him. It's good stuff.
Kev, that was a fantastic opening lap, but Adam just caught you there in the last corner, didn't he?
Oh, mate, I had a great start, absolutely amazing start. Adam just don't know what happened on the start, managed to sneak my way in, and then turn 3 or 4, he was all over me again and got his way through, and that was it, away we went from there.
Gavin, we spoke to you before the race and you were predicting a win, and here you are, but I think that was a little bit closer than you were expecting.
Yeah, before we get onto that, I'd just like to thank the sponsors for putting us here, really. SR Electrical and PDC, Howdens and Toyo and a number of others, who all put a lot of time and money into the car to get us out racing. So without them, I certainly wouldn't be on the top step. So I'm grateful for that. I can get that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, a little bit closer than you were expecting. It was quite fought there for a while.
Yeah, first few laps, got a reasonable start, and Hugh just got a little bit of a jump into turn 2. I was comfortable behind him where I was just waiting for a gap and worked it up on the infield, and yeah, it was coming, I think.